on with our people skills training and go through what we have this week, right? So, just a little a preview on why you want to learn this stuff. Retention is very, very important. If you look at someone like John, he actually came under someone else, and did you like that person? I don't know.
Grandma would say not like. Let's say I prefer to work with you.
Yeah. So, but my relationship with him has kept him around, even through being under that person, and then just kind of the ups and downs and family changes. Because 2 out of the 4 of the kids you had while in this business,
Yeah.
and getting married, everything. But it's can you keep people around for a long period of time? That's what you want. One of the things that Shaq told me early on in the business, he said that you don't want a revolving door in Primerica. That's one of the things that we look at. So, you're getting people licensed, but then they're not here 6 months from now. You have no examples of new people coming up that are producing, that are going full-time, that are winning trips, and all of this comes with people skills. Now, I've seen in Primerica people like big guys that have terrible people skills, but Primerica is just that good of a business that some people stay around just because of that. But those people, if they had good people skills, it would have, God knows how big that they would be. Okay? So let's go over this and the exchange principle. All right, so what does he talk about here? Instead of putting others in their place, we must put ourselves in their place. So this is, if you're just the type of person, like you believe what you believe and that's what it's going to be, and that's how you come across, people are not going to like you. Nobody likes that. Okay? And obviously, when you watch politics, which that everyone watches that, and you see certain people in politics, they're following a certain rule, which is consistency. That's like, there's like a law there with that. So they're not allowed to admit when they're wrong. They're not allowed to apologize. They're not allowed to go back on anything or say the other person was right or find a common ground, because there's a law that says you'll attract more people publicly in that setting if you just always stick to the same thing, because there's certain people that are just believe those things. In the real world, that's not how it's going to work. People are not going to like you. You got to put yourself in other people's place. Okay? Next, people naturally see themselves in the light of their intentions, but they measure others according to their actions. Right? So when you do something, it's like, man, I didn't mean it like that, right? But when they do it to you, it's like, man, can you believe that? That's how we are. So we take everything so personal, but when we do things to people, we're always like, nah, but that's not what I meant to do. And this shows poor people skills. So now it's like when you get better people skills, when you become a leader, you start to be more measured in terms of how you respond to people, how you look at certain things, because you start to wonder, why this is inconsistent with who this person is, right? Why did they do this? Why did they act like this? And I think that makes you better with people in general. Success can bring many things: power, privilege, fame, wealth, but no matter what else it brings, with success comes options. And how we use those options reveals our character. So this is very important in this business. If you're going to be successful, people are going to be with you from the beginning. Dante was with me since I made $0 a month. Now I make much more than that. But how do I treat people as I become more? That's one of the things that you have to ask yourself. That's what I respect when I meet people that make money. It's like, no, is this like a well-rounded individual? That's how you want to be. Here's a quote that I thought would be worth reading. How far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, tolerant of the weak and strong, because someday in life you will have been all of these. Right? So we treat young people a certain way. We were young. We treat old people a certain way. One day we may be old. One day we may be weak. One day we may be strong. Right? You got to think about that stuff. Leave your place and visit their place. Okay? So, these two things right here acknowledge the other person has a valid viewpoint. If you want to understand the world better, you want to understand people better, again, you got to be able to put yourself in their place. Like, for example, in the orientation, what do I talk about? I say that Primerica is like the NFL. There's good teams and there's bad teams. And now that a lot of the players are on social media and you see these long format interviews and podcasts, they tell stories about what's happening in the locker room. And you're like, damn, I just see them play. I see them make millions of dollars. I didn't know that there's that kind of drama that goes on in these organizations. And that's what made me think about Primerica, because I put people in their place. Like, if someone says, I had a terrible experience in Primerica, they just got a list from me, and they treated my family poorly, they treated my recruits poorly, they didn't train me. You know what? Some of that is true. People actually experience this stuff in our company. It has happened before. It may be happening right now, but that's not a reflection on the whole company. But I'm not going to invalidate something that someone says just because I'm like, oh, you're a loser, you're talking bad about our company. Yeah, it makes me upset depending on what types of things that they say. Right. But the reason why I formulate the things that I say is to say, you know what, I understand that some people do say that, and some of that may be true. But there's different teams in Primerica, just like there's different teams in the NFL. And some teams suck, and some teams have bad players and bad leaders and bad coaches and bad ownership. And then some teams are championship winning organizations that breed winning. We're one of those. I'm acknowledging that some of this stuff is true. You have to put yourself in the other person's place. One of the things that I realize as I get older is like, man, people are the way that they are. We can't be so judgmental because of things that they've experienced in their life, things that they have seen. That's the scariest thing to me about having kids is like, dude, if I make one little mistake, that kid can grow up and have a completely warped way of seeing the world because something that I said I did to them, right? Or they saw me do to someone else, and that's how we all are, right? We have these certain beliefs because of things that we've experienced. So you have to understand, if someone has a really weird way of looking at things, it's not because they're dumb and they're a loser and whatever, and sometimes it's easier for us to look at things like that, but it's like, this person just came from a different world than I came from. They're raised very differently than I was raised. And that's the way that you want to look at it. Check your attitude. Okay, when it comes to seeing things from another person's point of view, attitude is huge. It's always easy to see both sides of an issue that you're not particularly concerned about. So things that don't matter, you'll be like, okay, there's one side, there's the other side. It becomes much harder when you have a vested interest in it. When that's the case, you are often more concerned with getting your way than making a way to connect with others. At the core of that is whether you are not willing to change. When you don't want to change, you look for differences in others. When you are willing to change, you look for similarities. So some people just have the attitude that they're just not going to change. They don't want to hear your side. We see that sometimes, right? Someone has a lot of objections about the company. We're like, hey, let's just sit down. Just tell me, what did you read? What did you hear? What did you experience? And they don't even want to. Well, they have a bad attitude towards us in terms of hearing our perspective on how our company works, how our products work, things like that. Okay? So you got to check your attitude. They got to check their attitude. All right, let's go to the next one. The learning principle. This is huge. 5 more minutes, I'm done. The learning principle. Do I approach people with a desire to learn from them? Look, if you know me, I'm not amazing at creating conversation. I'm not out there just telling my business, telling my stories. You could know me for 5 years, you know nothing about me, I know everything about you. That's my relationships with people. They like me because I'm a good listener. But you know what? I actually do believe that there's something that I can learn from everyone, right? So where do you work right now? Do you have a job?
I used to work for a union.
Okay, you used to work and doing what?
So I was doing sales. I was selling the membership of the union to employers.
Okay,
farms.
cool. Dude, I want to know about that. I want to know about that. I want to know how that works. I want to know how you get paid. I want to know about your customers. I want to know about your clients. I want to know how they train you. I can learn from you. Right? That's the mindset that you got to have with everyone. Everyone can teach you something. You don't want to just be writing people off. There are some people that if they don't know, you can't tell them. Right? You can't teach them. So sometimes we meet people, and even if they don't know something, they're just not willing to learn. Again, this is an attitude issue. So sometimes we're that person where we don't want to learn, and someone is trying to teach us, and we encounter that with clients, and right? Like they have a bad policy. I met someone the other day, and he's a director for a company, so you know, and I said, he said, oh, you do life insurance? I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, I got a couple policies. And I was like, what do you have? And he said, well, I have the one where I get some money back, and then I have term as well. And I said, okay, so why do you like the one where you get the money back? And then I forgot what happened, and I said, I just, with a smile, not like a smart alecky way, I just said, you know, hey, are you good at math? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, if you sit down with me, you're going to see the math just doesn't work in those policies. That's why you want to sit down with me. Then his response was like, no, I already know, it's not good. Then why do you have it? Why are you paying for it? Why are you giving me, you know, it's just like, it's just stupid.
Right.
So you're admitting something's bad, I'm trying to sit down with you and show you, and you're showing a lack of interest, you know, it's just dumb. So, attitudes towards learning. Why are we teaching this? Because what happens is when we run into people that give us this type of feedback, or they act like this, when you're an amateur, or you're inexperienced, you immediately think, oh, this doesn't work, what I'm talking about doesn't work, or it's me, it's not you. Certain people just have these attitudes. One bad attitude is no one can teach me anything. That's arrogance. So like I said, I'm 42. If I sit down with an 18, anybody, any of these young guys here, I can learn from them something. That's why I'll sit down with you. I'll have a conversation. I like to ask questions. I like to find common ground. I think we sometimes assume that ignorance is the greatest enemy of teachability. However, that has little to do with teachability. Haven't you known someone highly educated, highly successful, who do not want to hear suggestions or opinions of anybody else? Some people think they know it all. A person who creates a large, successful organization may think he can't learn from people who run a smaller one, right? But that's not true. The only thing that can come between a person and the ability to learn and improve is a bad attitude. That's why we say if you come into this business and you have a great attitude, you're going to learn everything that you need to know. Next attitude is someone can teach me everything. That's a naive attitude. So maybe you have a pastor at your church and you're like, I'm just following this person blindly. Or now a lot of people, it's like, look, there's some things Andrew Tate says that are, you know, you can learn from that. Not everything. You're just blindly following everything. So people pick one person in their life and they're like, I'm just going to follow everything. Even with me, like I tell people in the orientation, I'm the money guy in your life. I'm not the religious guy in your life. I'm not the marriage counselor in your life, right? I'm the one who's going to teach you about business and money. And in the same way, don't go to the guy that's teaching you spirituality and then start listening to him about how to do Primerica. Does that make sense? It says here, people don't need a mentor, they need several mentors. You know who LeBron James learned about finance and managing his money from? Who knows? Warren Buffett. Now, is he learning from him about basketball? You need many mentors. That's why it's so dumb when people come in and they say, yeah, I want to do this, I'm excited, I'm motivated, I want to work it, right? And then they go ask someone else who works at Lululemon, right? And that person says, oh no, I tried that, I heard about that, I read it online. It's like, dude, is that the money person in your life? Like, that's who you're choosing to make $1 million decision with? Next attitude, everyone can teach me something. A teachable attitude. The people who learn the most aren't necessarily the ones who spend time with the smartest people. They're the ones with a teachable attitude. Right? So that's good. How to learn from others. I'll do this really quick. Make learning your passion. What's the problem, right? People go to school, then they go to college, and then they have this sense of entitlement that, like, hey, I've learned, I have a degree, I have this degree, I have that degree, and then they stop learning, they stop growing, and then you can tell. Because I meet you at 40, and your beliefs, your attitude, your mindset is that of a 22-year-old, because that's the last time you read a book. So you got to be thinking, I want to learn every single day. People come to rely on cliches and habits. Once they reach the age of their own personal comfort with the world, they stop learning and their mind runs on idle for the rest of their life. So you got your little house, you got your little car, right? You have your subscriptions, you go to the gym, you got your job, you got your paycheck. Now I don't need to learn anything, I don't need to do anything, I don't need to grow in any way, I don't need to try anything. People get like that. In their minds, they have reached their destination. They get comfortable. This is not right or wrong. It's just like, if you want to be a high achiever, it's important that you understand this stuff. Because some of these people are people very close to us that act like this. Make learning your goal, right? Next, value people. I thought that only older, more successful people could teach me anything. I had walked into that room placing very little value on other people there. That was the wrong attitude. People don't learn from people they don't value. Okay? So if you devalue people, you're never going to learn from them. We have to value everybody. Develop relationships with growth potential. Relationships help us define who we are and who we become. So I think that that's something that I've done well in my life. Not everything I've done well in my life, but that's one thing, is that I look for relationships where I can grow from that relationship, where people are challenging me. I think what would be really easy for me is to have a bunch of people around me that everyone makes $100 grand. I'm making what I'm making. I feel special. They put me on a pedestal. That's stupid, right? Then I'm going to stay there, if not come down to those guys' level. Right. I have to hang out with people where I'm embarrassed to talk about my income because they're making it a month what I'm making in a year. Does that make sense? And you know what? Those people don't always pick up my calls, and they don't always return right away because they're very, very busy. But that's the mindset you have to have in terms of learning from other people. Next, identify people's strengths and weaknesses. I've never met a man who is not my superior in some particular area. So, you know what? There's always something that someone is better at, and you can learn from that person in that area where they are better than you. What does he say here? My wife and I didn't have much money when we were visiting all these people around the country. Why would I go to such lengths to meet these people? Because I was dying to learn the unique skills and strengths that they possess. The meetings made a huge difference in my life. And you know what? Connection with great men and women continues to affect my life. Every month I try to meet with someone I admire from and who I want to learn. That's like coming to a fast start school. People fly in from all over the country to come to these schools, to come to these conventions, because they want to learn from people with unique strengths and abilities, okay? Asking questions, that's how we can connect and learn from people. The person who asks the right question learns the most, right? The person who asks the right question learns the most. Just huge stuff, guys. So I'll keep going through this. I'm not doing every chapter, whatever is kind of interesting and I think can be applicable to our business I've been going through. But any other announcements or anything else? Convention, so we have a new thread for everybody registered for convention. I'm gonna have Bruce do a conference call for us. He's saying that, you know, he called me directly. He said the registrations have to get up. We gotta do a better job. We gotta find more people to go. We gotta get our existing people registered. And the numbers are down right now, so we still have time. We wanna make sure that we coordinate with as a team and try to get everybody there. Okay, team on three. 1, 2, 3.